After spending many hours with Warriors Orochi 4, I can confirm that it is another one. Warriors Orochi 4 is better than some of Tecmo Koei's recent Warriors output, although that's largely because it pretends Dynasty Warriors 9 never happened, which, let's face it, is best for everyone. We could call this a return to form, but considering it reuses so many assets from previous games up to and including the maps, it couldn't be anything but a return to form because it is exactly the same form as the games it cribs from. Anyway, the stink of Dynasty Warriors 9 is not on this at all, which is a wonderful thing. The watered down combat from that game just wouldn't work with this. It would deviate too much from the existing Samurai Warriors characters. So the Dynasty Warriors characters are taken from Dynasty Warriors 8, which is good on the one hand because they just play way better, but on the other hand, Dynasty Warriors 8 has been released and re-released plenty of times by now, plus of course all the associated spin-offs you get from these games, and there's a Switch version of DW8 in the works already, very telling they aren't doing Dynasty Warriors 9, and this all leads up to the Dynasty Warriors characters feeling rather stale by now. Tecmo Koei's usual MO would be to take the characters from DW9 and put them in this one, but they're going to have to go back 2 steps instead of 1 step, because, as I said, Dynasty Warriors 9 is terrible and the characters just couldn't work here. Similarly, this iteration of the Samurai Warriors characters has been done to death as well. They've appeared in plenty of spin-offs over the years, and they feel equally stale, no matter how much fun their hyper moves are, where they can glide through peons and cut them down with abandon. And this is all still fun. It's a fine enough Warriors game, but so many of these characters have been in so many games by now that I'm a bit tired of it, and any of the new characters that might be there don't show up after hours and hours and hours of gameplay. I spent the entire day with this thing and didn't get hold of any new ones, which is unusual for this series. They at least give you 1 or 2 a little bit early. You know, it's new content. You think they'd want you to play the new content pretty quick, but you go through story mode and you just get dribs and drabs of characters as you play through, and you better hope that some of your favourites are in there, because they decide which characters you get to play as, and after hours and hours and hours, it certainly isn't Zhang He. That said, because it's a Warriors Orochi game, they have tried to give each character a little something extra. There's a little bit extra, and this time around the gimmick is magic. Magic in this game just translates to another little series of attacks, but this time you hold down a button and press another button instead of just pressing a button. Each character has a normal magic attack and a strong magic attack and a unique magic attack. The normal magic attack is a fairly big crowd clearing move. You can hit a lot of enemies at once and build up your combo, and the higher your combo is, the stronger your magic attacks are. It gets pretty strong at a combo of 300 and stronger at a combo of 1000. Your stronger magic attack is, well, stronger. It'll drain your combo meter and deal pretty devastating damage to anything it touches. These regular magic attacks are shared by several characters apiece, but there's such a wide variety of them that shouldn't matter too much. They're all fairly fun and very over the top. Some characters light themselves on fire and run around as just a big dashing flame ball. Some turn into giant boars that can charge through the enemies. Some create clones of themselves. Some of them require a little bit extra on behalf of the player, like a mortar style attack where you determine the range, or a horizontal slice through the enemy ranks where you first move a little bar up and down to determine who gets hit. And the unique magic attacks are unique. Pretty self-explanatory. Every single character gets their own special one, which is tied not just to a magic meter, which governs how many times you can pull off a magic attack, but also each character's Musou meter, which is, in regular games, that's their special attack that they're invincible for, and you can still do those, but you can also spend that meter on a unique magic attack, which is, you know, it's a big, flashy, showy, offy attack that is magic. It's a magic attack. It's unique. It's a unique magic attack. There are some enemies that can only be taken down with magic attacks, although while the normal magic attacks, I've said attack a lot. Anyway, while the normal magic attacks are only really useful for starting off combos and knocking a lot of peons out of the way, they're not very good at damaging important enemies. This isn't a big deal for the Chaos Origins characters. These are these ghostly wraith-like monsters that are dotted around the map, and they act as an amplifier of sorts. They make all of the surrounding enemies invincible to regular attacks, and as the most common magic enemy, they're not a big deal. One-shot them with a strong attack, that's fine. The problem is, those strong attacks take a while to recharge. Not an issue if they're killing something in one hit, but there are also these giant monsters which are pretty damaging in their own right, and they take scratch damage from your normal attacks, as well as your normal magic attacks, so a lot of combat with them involves just avoiding them while charging up a meter, hitting them with one attack, charging up a meter, hitting them with one attack. This is often a problem with Warriors games that introduce enemies apart from the rank and file. They never do a good job of implementing them into the system, and they'll often have like big monsters that are a fucking pain in the ass to fight, if I'm honest. This ain't Dark Souls. They can't pull off big epic monster fights because it's a relatively rudimentary hack and slash series. Whenever they try and implement a more complex enemy, they just create a convoluted waste of time. The Warriors Orochi series always tries to add a little extra depth. Nothing huge, but a little extra depth to the combat. Often in the form of being able to choose multiple characters to take into battle that you can switch between. That's still here, and you can build up an extra magic meter and have all of them attack at once for a really devastating move that will clear out most regular enemies. You can also assign support characters to your playable party, which will give your warriors some passive combat boosts. And select characters will also get a deify option, which will appear throughout the story and unlock for certain characters. If you kill a Chaos Engine, I can't believe I said that, a Chaos Origins. If you kill a Chaos Origins ghostly spooky monster, it might drop a little tear, and you can use those to activate Rage mode, which is a more powerful mode for every character. But if you have someone in your party who can be deified, they'll get a new model, sort of built off their old character model. They'll look all flashy, they'll often cosplay as some Greek god, which will give them a unique Musou attack and just make them very, very, very powerful. Outside of combat, you've got a fairly simple weapon crafting system. You can upgrade your characters further with skill trees that they mostly just unlock passive bonuses. Same goes for camp upgrades. You can upgrade your camp, which unlocks passive upgrades for every character universally. That last one requires a lot of resources gathered after battles, and it's just a slog to unlock stuff on that one. And yeah, that's Warriors Orochi 4 for the most part. It's another hack and slash, it's another one, and it uses a lot of old characters, and I enjoyed it well enough. It's fine, it's okay, but I can't say it pulled much of an emotional response out of me just because I'm kind of over all of this content. And there is so much of it, and it gets released so often, and it recycles so much stuff from past games, and I'm over it. And the little extra gimmicks thrown in to try and freshen stuff up are just that. They're gimmicks. I only really get majorly interested these days by the main entries because they often overhaul things, although as we learned from Dynasty Warriors 9, that's not always a good thing. Which is, of course, why Warriors Orochi 4 had to dig back further for its Dynasty Warriors characters, which, while making for a better game, certainly makes for a less fresh one. But yeah, if you haven't become overly cynical and tired of it all yet, then you'll probably have fun with this one. It's Warriors Orochi 4. It is another one.